My name is Claire, and I thought the worst moment of my graduation day would be walking across that stage with my entire family missing from the audience. I was wrong. The worst moment came 3 hours later, when my father called me in a panic and asked one question that made me realize my family had just discovered something they were never supposed to know. Claire, who is that woman standing beside you in every photo? I looked at the graduation picture on my phone and smiled. Because she was the one person my family had spent years pretending didn't matter. And that morning, she had just handed me the keys to a future they desperately wanted for themselves. My graduation ceremony was supposed to be one of those days families remember forever. I was 29 years old, and after years of night classes, part-time jobs, and studying until 2 in the morning, I was finally graduating with my master's degree in business administration. I had sent my parents the ceremony details almost 2 months earlier. My mother, Diane, had promised she would be there. My father, Robert, had even joked that he'd embarrass me by bringing a giant congratulations sign. My younger brother, Tyler, said he'd take the day off work. So I reserved 6 seats together near the front. 6. 1 for Mom. 1 for Dad. 1 for Tyler. 2 for my aunt and uncle. And 1 extra, just in case. But when the ceremony began, every one of those seats was empty. I kept looking toward the entrance whenever someone opened the doors. Nothing. My name was printed inside the graduation program. My degree was waiting. My cap and gown were perfect. But the people I had spent my entire life trying to make proud weren't there. Then my phone vibrated. It was my mother. I stepped outside before answering. Mom? There was music playing in the background. Loud music. People laughing. And then I heard a man's voice shout something about ordering another round. Where are you? I asked. There was a pause. Then my mother laughed. Not nervously. Not apologetically. She actually laughed. Oh, Claire, don't start. My stomach tightened. You're not here. We know, she replied. Your father and I decided to go to the lake with Tyler. The weather is beautiful and, honestly, we've all had such a stressful month. I stared at the concrete beneath my shoes. But you said you'd come. Oh, honey. It's just a graduation. Just a graduation. After everything I had sacrificed to get there. After every night I'd studied while everyone else slept. After every weekend I'd skipped because I was working. I heard Tyler laughing somewhere behind her. Then my mother said something that hurt even more. Besides, Tyler has been having a rough time lately. We thought he needed us more. Of course he did. Tyler always needed them more. He needed help with his car. He needed money for rent. He needed someone to fix his credit. He needed Dad to cover his business mistakes. He needed Mom to defend him whenever he messed up. And somehow, I had always been the daughter who needed nothing. Because I had learned very young that asking for help meant being called difficult. So I swallowed the lump in my throat. Have fun at the lake, Mom. See? I knew you'd understand. She hung up. I stood there for several seconds. Then I wiped my eyes, walked back inside, and took my seat. When they called my name, I walked across that stage alone. But something unexpected happened. As I stepped down, I saw a woman standing near the side aisle. She was in her early 60s, wearing a simple navy suit. She wasn't clapping like everyone else. She was crying. Not because she felt sorry for me. Because she looked proud. And when our eyes met, she smiled. Her name was Margaret Ellis. I had met her 2 years earlier at the company where I worked while finishing school. She was the founder and former CEO. And she had been watching me quietly for a very long time. After the ceremony, Margaret approached me. Congratulations, Claire. Thank you. She glanced toward the 6 empty seats. Then she looked back at me. Your family didn't come? I forced a smile. They had other plans. Margaret didn't say, I'm sorry. She didn't tell me they should have been there. She simply nodded. Then she handed me a small black envelope. Open this tonight. I laughed nervously. What is it? Something I promised myself I'd give you when you graduated. I slipped it into my purse. That evening, I went to a small restaurant with a few classmates. There were no balloons. No family dinner. No proud father giving a speech. But for the first time, I wasn't desperate for anyone's approval. I went home around 9. Then I opened Margaret's envelope. Inside was a single letter. The first sentence made me sit down. Claire, I am officially retiring, and I want you to take over my position as Chief Operating Officer of Ellis Group. I read it twice, then 3 times. I thought it had to be a mistake. Margaret wasn't offering me an internship. She wasn't offering me an interview. She was offering me a senior leadership position at a company worth tens of millions of dollars. But there was another page, and that page changed everything. Margaret explained that over the previous 2 years, she had deliberately tested how I handled pressure, confidential information, difficult employees, and major financial decisions. I had passed every test. She wanted me to join her executive team. But she also wanted me to oversee a new division she planned to launch. Then I reached the final paragraph. It said that she had already discussed my appointment with the company's board. My position would be announced publicly the following week. I sat there staring at the letter. My family had skipped my graduation because they thought it wasn't important. They had no idea what had happened that day, and I decided not to tell them. Not yet. For the next week, my life changed completely. I signed the documents. I met the board. I was introduced to senior executives. And Margaret became more than my mentor. She became the person who believed in me when my own family couldn't be bothered to show up. Then, on Friday morning, the announcement went public. Ellis Group names Claire Morgan as new Chief Operating Officer. My phone immediately started exploding with notifications. Friends, former coworkers, classmates. Then one message appeared from my mother. Claire, call me right now. I stared at it. Another came. Is this real? Then Dad. What exactly is your new position? I didn't answer. 10 minutes later, my brother called. I let it go to voicemail. That afternoon, I received a message from my mother that sounded completely different. Sweetheart, we are so proud of you. We had no idea you were doing something this big. I almost laughed. 2 days earlier, my graduation was just a graduation. Now suddenly, I was doing something this big. I still didn't respond. Then came the part one never expected. That evening, Margaret called me. Claire, we have a situation. What happened? Your brother contacted our office. My stomach dropped. What? He wants to meet with me. Why? Margaret paused. He says he has a business proposal and believes your new position gives you authority to approve it. I closed my eyes. Of course. Tyler had always treated my achievements like family property. If I got something, he assumed it could somehow benefit him. And apparently, my promotion was no different. The next morning, Margaret and I sat in the conference room when Tyler walked in with my parents. My mother was wearing the same expensive jacket she'd worn to my cousin's wedding. Dad looked uncomfortable. Tyler looked confident. Too confident. Claire, Mom said, rushing toward me. There she is. I didn't move. She hugged me anyway. We've been trying to celebrate you. I calmly asked, where were you on graduation day? The room went silent. My mother looked at Dad. Dad looked at Tyler. Then Tyler cleared his throat. Claire, seriously? We're not going to fight about that. No, I said. We're not. I turned toward Margaret. Please explain why we're here. Margaret opened a folder. Tyler's confidence disappeared. Your brother submitted a proposal last night requesting a $600,000 business investment from Ellis Group. My father immediately interrupted. It's a good opportunity. Margaret raised one eyebrow. We know. Tyler smiled. But Margaret continued. We also know the company he currently operates has significant unpaid debts. His smile vanished. My mother jumped in. That's temporary. Margaret turned another page. His business also has outstanding obligations to 3 vendors. Dad's face became red. Tyler looked at me. Claire, you can fix this. And that's when I finally understood. They hadn't come because they were proud. They hadn't come because they missed me. They came because they thought my success belonged to them. I stood up. Tyler, I'm not giving you $600,000. My mother stared at me. Claire. No. Dad's voice hardened. Don't forget where you came from. I looked directly at him. I haven't. I glanced at the empty chair beside me. The problem is, you forgot where I came from. Nobody spoke. Then Margaret closed the folder. There is one more matter. She pulled out another document. This proposal includes several false financial projections. Tyler went pale. Dad immediately looked at him. What? Tyler began stumbling over his words. Those were estimates. Margaret's expression didn't change. They were intentionally inflated. My mother suddenly turned toward Tyler. You told us everything was fine. Tyler started arguing with her. Dad joined in. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't the person expected to fix the family disaster. I simply watched. Then my father turned toward me. Claire, you're his sister. I shook my head. Exactly. My mother looked confused. What does that mean? It means I love my brother enough not to help him destroy himself. That sentence silenced everyone. I walked toward the window. Outside, people were moving through the city, completely unaware that my entire family had just fallen apart inside a conference room. My father came after me. Claire, we made a mistake missing your graduation. I turned around. No, Dad. He stopped. You made a choice. His face changed. I continued. You chose Tyler. Again. You chose the lake. You chose whatever was easier than showing up for me. My mother started crying. But this time, I didn't rush to comfort her. Because I finally realized something. I had spent years thinking my family didn't value me because I wasn't successful enough. I had worked harder, studied longer, earned more, achieved more, and somehow I still wasn't enough. But that day taught me the truth. I wasn't the problem. I was simply trying to earn love from people who had gotten comfortable receiving everything from me without giving anything back. I didn't cut my family out of my life that day. I didn't scream. I didn't humiliate them. I simply stopped rescuing them. Tyler had to restructure his business without my help. My parents had to stop expecting me to cover their financial emergencies. And for the first time, every dollar I earned went toward building my own future. 3 months later, Margaret officially retired. At the farewell dinner, she stood beside me and raised her glass. To Claire, she said, the person who learned that being overlooked doesn't mean being invisible. Everyone applauded. I looked around the room. My family wasn't there. And strangely, I didn't feel hurt. Because this time, the room was full of people who had chosen to be there. People who knew my story. People who respected my work. People who celebrated me without needing something from me. Later that night, I found an old photo from graduation. I was standing in my cap and gown, smiling at the camera. Behind me were rows of empty chairs. For years, I might have looked at that picture and seen everything I had lost. Now I saw something completely different. I saw the exact moment I stopped begging people to show up and started showing up for myself. My family skipped my graduation. They thought they were missing a ceremony. They had no idea they were missing the day I finally stopped waiting for their approval. And sometimes, the people who fail to show up for your biggest moments teach you the most important lesson of your life.